So when you come to the fall, Libra, Scorpio, and Sag, you have the team players. You have the people who want to belong, they want to be in a marriage, they want to be in a relationship, they don't want to be alone, they want to be together with people. There's a tremendous momentum. I need to be related. Someone has to like. Do you like me? I want you to like me. I want to be appreciated. I want you to trust me. I want to be deep in a connection to you, and I don't want to be alone and free of that. I'm not whole if somebody's not there with me. So this is a sign that really believes. They're the visionaries in society. They believe in connectedness, networking, interconnectedness, just so you understand each other, and people grow from trusting and understanding each other. So, but there's sensitivity, there's vulnerabilities, one's having to understand, not force their way. That's why you have the mellow Librans, although the Scorpios are very intense and judgmental, but they're judgmental when someone isn't living up to their responsibilities. Someone's not being responsible. A Scorpio will instantly think they're trouble or be sarcastic. And a Sagittarius gets in different situations. If it starts being too blatant or too insensitive, they'll run to another relationship or another relationship. They'll try and see which ones are working the best. But this need to belong and this social understanding and the responsibilities that go with it, that's strongest in Libra, Scorpio, and Sag. So I call it responsibility, but the need to belong. You know, like a Libra, Scorpio, Sag aren't normally thinking, I'm just going to do my own thing. They're going to think, who cares? Why bother if nobody cares? So it's a very strong thing. So they'll start relationships and it will build up more responsibility. Once they have a relationship, they'll work with it and they'll take more responsibility and they'll go. So they'll get in a relationship and they're starting to assume, here's us, here's us, here's us. If the other person's doing that too, then that's good. But the other person will be saying, what do you mean us? I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Then you have a more stormy relationship. It still can work, but then you get the trade-offs around it. So, okay. I'm hoping I'm making sense out of this. The main thing here is you're thinking of the two sections of dividing the year to daylight is increasing, nighttime is increasing, and dividing the daylight is greater, nighttime is greater halves. You put them together and you got the 4 seasons. And an exact description about the behavioral pattern and the light and the dark in each season. So this is a chart form. It has actually 3 zodiacs on it, but the colored one is the seasons of the year as we're knowing it. Then there's a sidereal one, then there's the constellations. So this is just on another set of forms that I had, but we're just working with the colored one right now, where you see the Aries, the Taurus, Gemini. Put the symbols of the signs in where they are. You see the light half, the dark half. You see the half that's going from darker to light, the half that's going from light back to the darker. So anytime you look at the zodiac, it's the first thing you should see. You should have it almost burned in your head. You know, like, so that as soon as you look at the zodiac, you're looking freedom, responsibility. First thing, independence, belonging. First thing, you see someone's sun, you see any planet, which side of this is it in. Now, the signs, they color the planets. They show the attitudes, the colors. They're not saying these houses do something different. They're more specific, but the signs are giving coloring the attitude of the sun or the planet that's in that sign. So this coloring of freedom and responsibility, it colors your attitude. Then what do you do with it? Then you begin to observe, okay, I picked up this attitude. It can be good or bad. How am I using it? How can I improve that? So, but here we distinctly see the normal zodiac, the 12 signs of the 12 colors. And it's the basic division, and we get used to it. From here, we get to a lot of mathematical divisions. So I'll just push this forward to see what else we have. Yeah, so here it's marked in. Here's the 4 seasons marked in, just drawn in by line so we can see the 4 seasons across the chart. And you remember the 3 signs in each season, and you got all the information we have up to now. It's so simple, but it solves. If you're trying to say, where do I go from here? I lost my job. What am I going to do? Where am I going to change? Am I going the right direction? What do I take? This basic stuff solves most of that before you even get into the other things. So this primary understanding, it's so useful. You see it in character in someone's natal chart. You can watch it in timings and transits. You see it evolve through the progressions. There's so many ways that you come to understand this. So it's applied differently in the natal chart. It's applied differently in transits. It's applied differently in progressions, but it's still the same factors So once you understand it basically right, it can easily be applied to the different levels whenever you use the zodiac. But this is the seasons of the year. It's called the tropical zodiac. It's used mostly in the Western world. India and places by the equator are not always quick to use it, but the Western way usually uses the tropical zodiac. There are sidereals around. So here again, it's the same picture, just put the seasons, the dates, and the daylight is increasing, and the 4 categories put together so you can see it. So this is from here. How are we doing for time? Okay, we've got lots of time. So from here, each season divides into 3 signs. There's 3 signs in each season. And then there'll be cardinal, fixed, mutable within each season. Then there's fire, water, air, earth. Then all the other categories and subdivisions, masculine, feminine signs, all of these will come in. We'll be studying these next week and going through more detail about each of them. But this initial beginning, this seeing the creative and the receptive, the active and the passive times of the year. But active and passive, it's really more like creative and receptive. I'm doing my own thing. I'm being creative. I'm having to calm down and calm down a little bit to relate to other people, let other people have a turn. So by the time we're parents, we're in the Cancer stage or Leo stage, we do a lot of things, and it's my kids, I'm doing it, but still you're having to do things so that your kids have a better chance, and you're having to be a bit more responsible than you would have been before you had that. So there are books that interpret the sequence of the zodiac. I like the sequence of getting the meaning of one develops into the other as the light and darkness waxes and wanes. Dane Rudhyar, one of my early authors that inspired me, he wrote a book. What's the book? Astrology of Personality. It interpreted astrology, mixed partly according to theosophy and mystical traditions and partly according to Jungian psychology and the process of individuation. So it's a philosophical book, but it expands your use of your concepts of the zodiac. So if I was going to suggest, I usually suggest you don't need reading material to get to know it yourself just simply first, because then there's no misconceptions. You're figuring out your own language, you're getting secure, and then when you read other people, there's always some good things, some bad things, some that's in everybody's works. So in my classes, I don't give out books like this, but that's one book that's a very good. His book, the Astrology of Personality, is a good general overview book of astrology and mystical, and has a lot of different implications. And I was inspired very deeply by it. His book on the zodiac, which is called The Pulse of Life, I think it's the spectrum of human experience. No, that's the houses. The Pulse of Life, the zodiac, the Pulse of Life. It's by Dane Rudhyar, and he goes through these sequences in a very nice way. So I'm pretty sure you should be able to get this online and order it and get it if you wanted to follow it. But it's enough to just think. I think it's stronger if you just figure it out for yourself. Don't get, oh, they said this, it must mean this. You don't want to do that. You want to think freedom, responsibility. And always you're expanding your understanding of the increasing light, the increasing darkness. You're expanding your awareness of freedom and responsibility, of independence and belonging. And you're starting to see how these things radiate out into life. So you can do this yourself. It doesn't take books. Do charts. Look at people's charts. But slow it down. Don't get caught in all the detail right away. Look at the sun and see these categories. By the time, my next 4 levels, we're interpreting the planet. Each planet in each sign is the 2nd level. Each planet in each house is the 3rd. And the aspects to each planet is the 4th level. So we're going over all these materials again, applying them and working them together. So at this stage, you don't need to do all the technical things that much. Just with whatever you know, go back and make sure you see how the freedom and responsibility, how each sign has its relationship to freedom and responsibility, and get some examples from people you know of how people live up to it or don't live up to it. If someone's trying to be really free and independent when they're not, then you'll see certain results coming from it. Someone's trying to be very responsible when they're really not, you'll see the result. Like Donald Trump is the Gemini. He's doing his own independent thing, but he's not being very responsible, and the majority of people are aghast. The team spirit, he goes so against the team spirit of consensus. that it looks totally irresponsible. And these polarities play out in life and in history, and we see it. So I think I'm going to go around this one more time, sign by sign.